Today we will discuss a very important topic on speed control of induction motors, because that has a lot of practical significance in view of its applications wherever you need to control the speed. Earlier DC motors were almost universally used because of flexibility of speed control, and but there was always an interest to use induction motors which were inherently a constant speed machine. But recent developments in power electronics led to the possibility of using induction motors under variable speed application in addition to constant speed. The methods that are used for speed control will differ from the type of motor that is being employed. Okay. If it is a squirrel cage motor, there will be one method. If it is slip ring, you will have another method. Now, the methods that are in principle which are used, you can control the speed because the basic principle of controlling the speed is the speed is equal to what of an induction motor is 1 minus s times the synchronous speed. Synchronous speed is 120 into f by p. If this expression of speed is there, so you can control S, you can control F, or you can control P. So slip you can change, frequency you can change, and poles you can change, right? And that will automatically change the speed. Now, slip change, if you control the voltage, slip would change, right? If you add a stator impedance in the stator, again slip would change. Other is you can change the poles. Pole changing is another method, and there is also another variant of this called a pole amplitude modulation. We will discuss it when we come to that. Then other is the frequency control. So we have broadly these methods of speed control. Okay. Now, let us look at the voltage control. If you want to control the voltage at the terminals of the motor, what are the methods available to you? How you can control it? You can control it by using an auto transformer. That will be one simple way to do. Or if it is only two speeds, you can connect them in star and then connect them in delta, then you will have two voltages, right? That is one simple way of having a voltage control. Or you can use a part winding. That means part of the winding can be used so that the voltage across the motor would be different. So you can have that arrangement. Then lastly, the AC voltage controller, and that is electronic control, where you have a thyristors back to back in each phase, so that the voltage across the motor gets changed. Okay. So these are the four methods which are used for voltage control. Now, in order to understand it a little more in detail, let us draw the torque speed characteristics of the motor at different voltages. So, for nominal voltage, if you have these characteristics, V, reduced voltage, it will have, where will the characteristics be? If you reduce the voltage, it will go down by what factor? Because torque is proportional to V square. But the slip at maximum torque will remain the same. So you will have a family of characteristics like this for changing the voltage, right. So let us say V1, let us say V2, let us say V3, right. So V3 less than V2 less than V1 less than the nominal voltage V, okay. So there, but what you observe is your stable operating zone will be still here only, because it will be from the slip equal to 0 to slip equal to S max, right. So it is only this zone that you can operate. You can't operate in this zone at all. So the speed variation from 0 to the speed corresponding to S max T is not possible. Therefore, if you have typically say there is a load characteristics, some load characteristic is there. This is T load. So it will operate at certain speeds where they interact with the corresponding voltages. So this may be operating at say N, this will be N1. Then of course there will be possibilities it will not intersect at all. So for any given load there is a minimum voltage below which it will not operate. That is one constraint that you will have. Another thing is, even if there is a load which will intersect all the points, let us say there is another load like this, right. Then what are the speeds it will have? This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, right. These are the 4 speeds, right. So let us say N, N1, N2, N3, where they are intersecting. Look at what is the range you can have. The range of speed you can have is very small, right. So you cannot have a large range of speed. This is one of the features of speed voltage control, right. You can have very marginal range of speed. Maybe it can be used for mostly for energy saving. If it is underloaded, you reduce the voltage so that energy consumption is reduced. That's one. Next point is that you notice is, if you want to be more effective, what you should do? The design must be such that instead of torque speed it can go like this. If it is a larger torque speed characteristics, supposing the torque speed characteristic high rotor resistance, right, then what will happen? Supposing your rotor resistance itself is high, this will be the nominal characteristic V, then you will have several curves like this, V1, V2, V3, right. And perhaps here if you have a load like this, then you will find the speeds will be larger. Let us say this is N and this is N, N1, N2, N3. So the range is more speed range. Is it clear? So if you want it to be effective, it can be in those machines which has a higher rotor resistance. That would inherently mean it would be inefficient, because there will be more losses in the rotor, okay. So that is another factor you will have a problem. So the speed, this voltage control is that way having limited impact on speed range, and it will be only in small motors, low power motors, and for some typical small loads, okay. After all, you do a voltage control in single phase operation in fan regulators, okay. So that is where it is used, okay. Now next is, we have summed up the features as follows of a voltage control. One is it has a limited speed range, then it has a varying torque. You can't generally have a constant torque. At lower voltage your torque availability is smaller, so it is suitable for varying torque loads like a fan load. Fan has a torque of proportional to square of speed, so you can use that, okay. Then another factor is there is underfluxing at low voltage. So you are not operating at nominal flux. If you reduce the voltage, operating flux is small. There is underfluxing. Okay. Then if you use a AC voltage controller, then there are harmonics in currents and voltages. If you have a power electronic controller, back-to-back thyristors, that is one of the problem that you will have. So you have to be reckoned with harmonics in the supply current. Therefore, this method, more than speed control, this method is more suitable for energy saving with variable load. Wherever you have energy saving to be done with underloaded machines, because in many applications for some time it will be underloaded, so you can have the AC voltage controller. So to that extent it is used, but used with certain limitations and constraints. Another variant of the same thing is a stator impedance control. You can connect an external impedance to the motor, maybe a resistance or a resistance inductance. So if you include that, then the voltage drop will be there, but the voltage across the motor will change. But the voltage across the motor will change based on the current that is drawn. If it is operated on no load, it is not effective, because if it is loaded only, it will be effective, right? Like a analogy is, you have a small fan regulator with external resistors, so you control the speed by connecting external resistance. So it is almost similar to voltage control, but it is depend upon current or load. It is depend upon current, and therefore it is inefficient, because there will be drop across the resistances and there will be loss in the external resistance. So at low speed it is inefficient, and again it is suitable in the low power range. Okay. So this is the one of the methods of speed control as a stator impedance control. So to complete this, if you want to draw the torque speed characteristics at different resistances, supposing you don't connect any resistance, let us say RS is 0. If you connect resistance, what will be the family of characteristics? If you put extra resistance, the family of characteristics will be, will the maximum torque change? Right? The slippered maximum torque will not change, but maximum torque would, there will be some characteristics like this. So this will be, let us say, RS external 1, RS2, RS3 and RS4. If you have if you include the resistance RS4 greater than RS2, 3 greater than RS2, greater than RS1, right? So you have added resistances and to the stator terminals, so the drop, there will be a drop in the so again what will be the speciality you will find? It is almost similar to voltage control. Now the problem is, again in this case you will have a small speed range, because if you have a load like this, so your speed range is very small. Again it should be suitable. If you want it to be effective, rotor resistance also must be high, right? So you have the effect of RS4 is greater than, yes, that is true. Okay, RS4 greater than RS3, greater than RS2, greater than RS1. Okay, right? So you have added the resistance, and this is one of the method. Of course, there are also methods nowadays where you can chop the voltage. They are called a integral cycle control. Okay? That is also another variant of the thing. See, this is called integral cycle control. I mean, that means you imagine that you have a switch here, and you have the voltage VAC. This is the V across the motor. Okay. Now you go on switching for some time, on and off for some time. So it's possible that you will have one cycle, then afterwards you have one cycle afterwards like that. So this is on period and this may be off period. So this is also one way of controlling the voltage. Okay, this is called integral. Certain cycles you on, certain cycles you put it off. So on off control will be there. So the average RMS voltage across this will get reduced, depending upon how much time is off, how much time is on. So this is also one of the variant of the voltage control. Okay, integral cycle control. Okay. Next we go to pole changing. Now you are given the motor. After you have purchased the motor, you can't change the poles, right? Poles for which it is already wound, because this is this has to be given to you from the manufacturer. He must somehow allow you some switch at the terminal. So if you put one side, it must give you one pole, another side it will give you another pole. But you can have several switches, you can't have with several poles. It is not practicable. So it is mostly a 2-pole numbers. This is one of the methods. We will see how it is little later. So pole changing is 2-pole numbers. One will be twice the other. So you have 2-pole, 4-pole, 4-pole, 8-pole, 6-pole, 12-pole, like that. That means the synchronous speed of one will be half of the synchronous speed due to the other. So you can only have 2 poles, one speed half of the other speed. So wherever you require such an arrangement, there are several applications where you can get 2 poles. Okay, so it is not a continuous arrangement. So it has 2 synchronous speeds, right? And it can be operated at different possibilities. You can have a constant torque mode. That means at both the speeds it can deliver constant torque, or a constant power mode. That means both the speed it gives the constant power, means at low speed high torque, high speed low torque. Okay, or it can have a variable load, maybe low speed low load and high speed high load, like a fan, right? So it depends upon what is the type of load that is connected. If you are having a constant torque, will be like pulling something, that means the tension will be same, right? Then there is a constant torque. There will be some with constant power at high speed low torque that could be there, right? And therefore, and then as I told you, you can have 2 arrangements. Okay, these arrangements are typically, you can have series parallel arrangement. In one pole it can be in series, another pole it could be in parallel, or one pole it could be in star, another pole it could be delta. So these are the different variants of this thing. So broadly, a manufacturer will give you at the terminal box a switch, okay, you say or a contactor, such that if you put one contactor it will be in one pole, another contactor will be in another pole. So there is only one arrangement. Now let us see how it actually works. Okay, I will make one draw a stator. Okay, the rotor of course is squirrel cage. Draw 4 conductors. Right. So let us say 1, 2, 3, 4 of one phase. Okay, I made 4 conductors. Okay, supposing you have passed a current like this, cross here, dot here and dot here. Okay, then what will happen? How many poles it creates? How many poles it has created now? How many? 2 or 4? 4? How many say 4? How many say 2? How many 4? How many 2? Right? So invariably those in minority are the right correct things. You see. So it is basically a 2-pole system. So if you make a flux lines like this, so this becomes north pole, this becomes south pole, or this becomes south pole, this becomes north pole, right. So you have made this is a two pole arrangement. Now you reverse one of the combinations, right. Now please redraw it again. Reverse one of the coils, let us say. Okay, I don't 1 and 4 I keep it as it is, and this one let's say we reverse this. Now how many poles it has created? 4. So now it will be a 4 pole arrangement, because you will have one flux lines will be like this, and there will be another flux lines will be like this, and again the flux lines will be like this, and then the flux lines again will be like this. Is it clear? So we have created a 4 pole here. Here 2 pole here, just by reversing one coil direction, right. You make, all you have to do is you can make this is one coil. Let us say one let us say one coil 1 will have 1 4, and coil 2 will have 2 3. So here what you have done is reverse coil 2. This only you have reversed, isn't it? So you have maintained one coil has this 1 4 is one coil, and second one is 2 3 is another coil. You just reversed it. So you automatically have made 4 pole out of this. For the poles, 4 pole will be here. Suppose this will be south pole, this will be north pole, this will be south pole, this will be north pole, the stator surface. Now this is for each phase. This is for each phase. So your manufacturer must give you a switch, just to reverse the one of the 2 coils in all the 3 phases. In all the 3 phases, then you have a arrangement like this. So you can have several 4 to 8 poles. All these things are possible. Okay, this is one of the method. Now tell me, is it suitable for squirrel cage or slip ring? Squirrel cage only, not in slip ring, because slip ring, rotor is wound for specific number of poles, right. So this is only for squirrel cage, because squirrel cage is so versatile that the rotor can adjust to any number of stator poles. So you must note this, that is only it is suitable for this. If you want it to be suitable for squirrel cage, slip ring, what you should do? Rotor also you must have other switch. So you have 2 switches must be there. If you put a wrong switch, you have a problem. Okay. So of course it is being used in large synchronous machines sometimes, if they want to use it with the different turbines, etc. But this is pole changing is a very well known method of the arrangement. Now see what you can do, you can have several ways of connections. So you can have 2 coils, right. So it is one direction. It could be series parallel. Let us say 1 2 3 4. I am just giving you. Now it can then be connected in parallel. Right. So this can be 1 pole. Now let us say 2 pole. This could be 4 pole. Right. And here, let us say you maintain 1 2 here. Where should be 3 4? This should be 3 4. Right, because current direction, this will be the current, this is series. Now here entering through 1 and going out through 2, here is 4 and 3. So you have reversed the second one, right. So series parallel is one way, or you can have star delta. You can connect them in star in one and delta in another. So you can also have star delta. So star can be 2 pole and delta can be 4 pole, etc. So there are several ways. We have no time for discussing this thing. Okay, we have, for example, that means that if you want to draw the characteristics, so there will be a 2 pole this characteristics and 4 pole this characteristics. Right. So this is suitable for a constant torque drive, because they are giving almost the same torque at the same slip. Okay. Or if you have another arrangement where you have 2 pole like this and 4 pole can be like this, right? What is it suitable for? What is this suitable for? Constant power, your load can be like this, right? So high torque at low speed and low torque at high speed is a constant P. And you can also have a variable torque. So if you have, this is 2 pole, then 4 pole it could be small. So this could be a variable torque, variable load torque. Variable load torque would mean, that means your load torque may be preferably like this, right? Okay. So you can have, depending upon the type of load that are connected to that, the 2 pole arrangement can be done. Okay. So we have constant torque, constant power and variable torque loads on this 2 pole system. Okay. Now another variant of this called a pole amplitude modulation. Okay. PAM. Now you have heard a term called modulation anywhere? Okay. Now modulation is, you have one carrier, another is a modulating signal. Normally carrier will be high frequency, modulating will be low. If you want to modulate the amplitude of a wave, so your amplitude will not be same. That means it is one wave riding on the other wave, isn't it? Okay. So that is what you are fairly aware. So generally it is supposed to have a constant frequency, okay, like this. This is carrier, you say. Next one, you don't want like that. You want that whole thing has to have a modulated like that, right? So you will have this one will be there like that. Now you are told if this is F1 and modulating is F2, resultant will have what frequencies? F1 plus F2 and F1 minus F2, isn't it? You can prove it, right? And now similarly, why not we do for poles? The poles is, for example here, you have a 8 pole arrangement here, and you modulate it by another 2 pole, right? This is the one, this is plus and minus. I mean, modulation means you have a switch, that's all. Okay. Now if you have that switch, that means you put this 4 pole as it is, the minus thing, this gets reversed, isn't it? That means the pole number of this will be the difference of this. If it is 8 and 2, this may we can resolve it into 8 plus 2 and 8 minus 2. Okay. Similarly, you can also have another variation. You can have a wave like this. This is plus minus. You have the other at what are the poles you are modulating. Okay. Now this is, of course, we have again no time for discussing further. The only thing is, by a proper switch, by modulating certain pole numbers, you can have new number of poles, and this is called a pole amplitude modulation. And because why we are, this is called PAM, this is a word which is used, PAM motors, and these are mostly manufactured in England and Russia, because it was invented by Rockcliffe of University of Bristol in 60s, and he had a lot of patents on this, and it became very versatile, and because it is a very simple, again you need to have a Walding winding arrangement. Okay. Next we go to variation of frequency. Okay. Variation of frequency, we must know what is the torque speed characteristics. Now for different frequencies, this will be the nominal frequency f, and you can reduce the frequency, and with typically maximum torque. Okay, so let us say f1, f2, f3, f4. So f4 less than f3 less than f2 less than f1. Okay, so this is one of the methods of speed control. Okay, now this is the nominal speed, let us say 0 and 1. Now general principle that is used is, throughout this you maintain V by F constant, because you want to maintain the flux constant here in this range. But if you go beyond the nominal voltage, if you double the voltage, what should be the frequency? If you double the frequency, what should be the voltage? Double the voltage. But you can't double the voltage, because the machines are built for certain voltage. You can reduce the voltage, not increase the voltage. So after that, it is a constant voltage mode. That means it is underfluxing. Okay. Therefore, the characteristics outside the base one will go like this. Like that. So here it is a constant V up to say 2 per unit or something, right? Now what type of load it is suitable for? Therefore, what you can conclude is, here it is suitable for constant torque, and then here it is suitable for constant power. Okay, this is the load torque. Therefore, this is typically DC machines where you have variable voltage up to rated voltage, and afterwards you do underfluxing. Here it is underfluxing here, isn't it? So this is the method that is generally used under variable frequency. So this is the features suitable for constant torque till base frequency, then constant power above base frequency, then constant flux till base frequency, then underflux above base frequency, then V by F constant till base frequency, and V constant above base frequency. So these are the features of variable frequency operation, right? Now if you want to plot different quantities with speed, let us say this is speed, say 0 to 2 per unit time. 0 to 1 it is constant flux, and above that, so if you want to plot the flux, so it will be constant flux and then reduced flux. Okay. If you want to plot the voltage, what will be variation of voltage? So it will increase, this will be variation of voltage, right? And allowable torque, again you can plot some constant torque. That's what. Power, if you want to plot power, how will it look like? So power, again it will go, this will be P. So you can draw several this thing. So you would prefer to maintain the current to be almost the same value, so you can maintain for the same nominal current can be same throughout, because you want rated value. So here the voltage will be increasing till the base value, then it's constant. Okay. So these are the quantities, variation of different quantities with frequency. Okay. So this is what you have to maintain in this one. Okay. Now you may say, how do you get a variable frequency? See, one way is you can have another alternator, right, which will run at variable speed. So in order to control one motor speed, you have another variable speed, right? That is not what is desirable. So if you want to control a 100 kilowatt machine, you must invest on 300 kilowatt, okay, another generator. And therefore we use what is known as inverter. So inverter is the one like a rectifier which rectifies from AC to DC, and inverter changes from DC to AC. Now what is this? How will it happen? So you have a DC, okay, and you have a load, and across this you want AC, right? So what is done is, you have the load is connected to this, and there is a switch. Okay, this switch will connect to this voltage at position 1, okay, and then you have another terminals 2 at position 2, okay, and these two are connected like this, okay, and you connect. You have a switch. If I put to position 1, this plus V comes here. This plus V comes across this. If you put it to position, if the switch to position 2, then minus V comes across this, because this V will be. So you will have the voltage across the load will be plus VDC and then minus VDC. Right? This is the basic principle of an inverter. You have that means all you have to do is go on switching from 1 to 2, 1 to 2 like that. You switch to 1, switch to 2. Okay. So you have a switch, mechanical switch, right? And you go on putting 1, 2. That's how you get a variable frequency operation, because you can change the frequency, isn't it? Because how do you change the frequency? By changing your movement in which you can move the switch. Faster you move, higher the frequency, and slower you move, and slower the frequency. So if you want to get 50 hertz here, how many times you have to move? 50 times per second. And practically how many you can do? Not even 1 per second, isn't it? So you can, human beings can have can become an inverter for 1 cycles, right? So you can't have any other lively, so live people can be only 1 cycle people, right? So you want to use, for higher frequencies you require dead people, okay, or dead systems, or dead circuits, or dead devices, which can be made live, right? So we use, this switching is done electronically. Use switches which are, you know, nowadays you can have a high frequency switching, a diode can be switched, a transistor can be switched, but there are switching devices, right? So this, because all your computer is only switching only, right? On and off, everything is digital, right? Okay, now what are the devices used for switching? Okay, the devices used are, the thyristor is another one which switch on. Then there are power transistors. There are MOSFETs, metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistors. GTOs called gate turn off thyristors. Of course, I'll just tell you the names because there's no time to give you more details. There are IGBT, insulated gate bipolar transistors, and there are insulated control ICTs. No, actually this is MCT. Actually, I'm sorry, MCT. Okay. Now I think since that we cannot get into details of the devices now. Now the system that is used is as follows. You want to control the speed of a induction motor here. You have a supply frequency F1, then you have a rectifier. So it is 50 hertz, then you have a DC here, right? If you make a controlled rectifier, you can control the DC here. Okay, then you have an inverter, and then you have you can vary the frequency here. And by controlling the DC, you can vary the frequency, you can vary the voltage also here. So this is the scheme, right? And whatever frequency that you want to get, you put a reference here. So that will adjust. So there is a monitoring. So there is a firing of the inverter. That means the switch firing means switching of the devices here, and the switching of the devices here. Okay. So typically the rectifier circuit will be, if it is 3-phase, will be like this. Okay, so this will be the DC. This will be the rectifier. Of course, you can have a controlled rectifier by using thyristors, but your inputs will be here. Your inputs is the midpoints. Then if you go to the AC side, then what you will do the reverse process. That means you have, let us say, switching. Again, you put 2 switches here, right? And the center point you connect to the motor. So one of the, there are 6 switches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You connect 2 out of the 6 switches to the motor, and that is how we get a variable voltage, variable frequency here. Okay, because there is so this is the sort of a practical circuit: rectifier, inverter, and these devices are one of those devices which I have mentioned, thyristor, transistor, whatever it is, and how you can control the voltage here and control the frequency here. Okay. No, another 5 more minutes, please. Doesn't matter. Okay, now this is the cage motor. As I told you, the switches are like this, and then you have the voltage that is controlled. The switches, just 1 minute. The switches are, you can have these, how you switch for the ABC, like at one instant, that is you have 1 and 6, then 1 and 3, and 4 and 3, like that. So any 2 of these 6 switches are being operated. You look at which are the switches. This is here, it is 1 and 6, and this portion is 1 and 3. No, this is and then these are the different 1 and 6, 1 and 6, 1 and 3, 4 and 3, like that. So this is the conduction pattern for the inverter. Okay, so we will skip this. Commutation is a process in which you have to switch it off. How to switch off the thyristors. Okay, and the types of inverters which are practically used, I have listed here because we will take a. There are what is a 6-step inverter. Then PWM high frequency inverter. PWM means pulse width modulated inverter. Okay. Then there is what is known as scalar control. Scalar control is you change the voltage and change the frequency with open loop. Okay. Then there is also called a vector control. That means you want to have the induction motor look like a DC. You can change orienting the field or a field oriented control. And for all there are also a sensorless control, not a senseless control. You know, the sensorless control means you don't have sensors in the control mechanism. Then nowadays you use for all this programmed control, microcontrollers or DSPs, digital signal processors. They are used in this. And there are also analog controls and digital controls. Both methods are employed. And why are you doing all this thing is, in many applications you want quick response. So these are the because you should know, because these terminologies are today used very much in practice. Okay, so we will these are the methods of squirrel cage machines. In next class we will take up the slip ring motor control and other also cover the remaining topics. Okay.